Hello, and welcome to the 5th episode of Beat Saber Replay Analysis. My name is Snowy, and I'm ranked number 11 on the global Score Saber leaderboards. In this series, I take a deep dive into one or more Beat Saber replays. Each episode is centered around a theme. A theme could range anywhere from fun new maps to prominent players to small tips for improvement. Hopefully, this series will help you guys have a better understanding of how top plays are made and how you can improve your own Beat Saber play. This episode is about challenge maps. There are tons of different ways to play Beat Saber. In episode 3, we talked about the community of players who specifically focus on slower accuracy maps. Along with the accuracy community, there's another type of community that emerged in the game. These players take on extraordinary maps with extreme speed and technical capabilities. In this episode, we're going to talk about challenge maps, tips on how to improve on challenge maps, the challenge community, and the upcoming challenge campaign. Alright, so let's just jump right in. For this video, I've separated all challenge maps into 4 categories: vibro, jumps, streams and doubles, and tech. I got this idea from the creators of the challenge campaign, so shout out to them for the categories. Each type of challenge map requires different skills, and I'm going to go over each topic, giving tips for how to improve or how to train on all of them. First of all, we have vibro. Vibro is basically just extremely dense populations of notes. At first, vibro seems really crazy because you think you have to read these super dense streams of notes coming at you at lightning speed, but that really isn't the case. There are a couple strategies top challenge map players use to pass difficult vibro, and to get decent accuracy too. The first strategy used to hit vibro is called cheesing. Cheesing allows you to basically just hit all types of linear vibro without having to keep time or swing in any certain direction. The way hitboxes work in Beat Saber is that there are 2 hitboxes for each block. One hitbox is the size of the actual block itself and registers bad cuts. The second hitbox is much larger than the actual block and registers good cuts. In order to cheese vibro, all you have to do is swing your sabers into the hitbox for registering good cuts, but outside the hitbox which registers bad cuts. There are 2 really easy ways to do this for linear vibro. Here are some examples. Keep in mind that this is called cheesing because it's cheesy. It doesn't take as much skill as actually keeping time. Therefore, it's not regarded as an impressive achievement to cheese vibro. Cheesing should only be used as a last resort when playing challenge maps. That being said, full swinging vibro, or just swinging and keeping time, is generally seen as pretty impressive. The second strategy for vibros is how to get accuracy on lollop notes. If you don't know what a lollop note is, it's just a set of notes that looks like this. The common way people try to hit these notes is to swing in the dead center of both of the blocks. The problem is, this will award you with 100 to 105 points for each block at best. However, remember that I said earlier that the hitboxes in Beat Saber are pretty massive. In fact, they are so massive that you can swing straight into the inner note to get a 115 and still get 100 to 102 on the outer lane note. This is proven to be a far better strategy for accuracy on lollop notes, and is the main reason people are able to get SS ranks on vibro maps that have lollop notes, like fidget spinners for example. The third strategy for vibros is called T-posing. When you're playing vibro, the first instinct of most people is to stick their arms out in front of them and move their entire body up and down to hit the notes. This strategy is slow, makes your headset shake, and is not valid for higher speed vibros. If you hold your arms out in a T-like shape, you'll find that your headset doesn't shake anymore, and it might be easier to wiggle your wrists. If you have trouble keeping time consistently on vibro, try this tip. Lastly, there are some different types of vibro which I thought I'd mention because they show up often in some challenge maps. Stack vibro is vibro which involves stacked notes. This forces you to full swing on each vibro note. If you're a beginner, you should probably shy away from this pattern until you can confidently keep time on normal vibro. Along with stack vibro, there is invert vibro, which is when the directions of the notes are inverted. This also forces you to swing really large. It's generally seen as a more difficult pattern that takes a lot of practice to hit, so if you're new, it might also be a good idea to stay away from this one as well. The second type of challenge maps are jump maps. Jumps usually refer to large movements of one hand across multiple lanes. Jumps are generally considered difficult for two reasons. Number 1, reading, and number 2, timing your movements. The first time you see jumps, it's a pretty jarring experience. Most lower level maps completely avoid jumps and stick to alternating patterns between both hands. Therefore, the most common response to seeing a jump pattern for the first time is to panic and swing your entire arm all over the place trying to hit the blocks. But the real problem here is that you can't read the notes, so you panic. The best way to improve reading is to just play the section over and over again. However, if the speed of the notes is too fast, use the practice plugin to slow down the song, adjust the note jump speed to be slower, or adjust the offset to be farther away. All three of these changes will make it easier to see the notes, giving you more time to react. In addition to reading, the second problem is that maybe you can see the notes and you aren't panicking, but you still miss anyway. When mappers add jumps to their maps, they're oftentimes making the player move their arm more per block. This can seriously mess with your timing because you're used to moving your arm a certain amount to each beat of the song, but all of a sudden you have to move twice as much in order to keep the same beat. The solution to this is to just go full wrist. By using as much wrist as possible on jumps, you lower the amount of arm movement that you need to hit the notes. It may feel like overswinging at first, but by normalizing the amount of arm you use throughout the entire song, your swings will become smoother and it'll be easier to time your hits. Along with the use of full wrist, move your arm closer to the block, which you would be swinging down into. You'll find that it's easier to flick your wrist up than it is down, so if you hold your wrist lower on vertical jumps, for example, you don't have to swing down as much, and you can easily flick your wrist up into the top note. The third type of challenge maps are streams and doubles. These maps normally just consist of very fast doubles or very fast streams. It's usually just a faster version of pretty normal patterns, but there are a couple of tips that I can give anyway. The first tip is called pizzaing. This strategy once again abuses the massive size of the Beat Saber hitboxes in order to hit any type of stream without having to swing in a certain direction. The difference between pizzaing streams and cheesing vibros is that with pizzaing streams, you actually do still have to keep time, and it's much harder to perform well. There are two different kinds of pizza. The first is just sticking your sabers out in front of you and forming the shape of a pizza slice with your sabers. The second way is to make the pizza slice a little bit smaller and have the tips of the sabers intersect a bit. If you do this, you basically don't have to aim your sabers at all, and you can kind of hit any bottom row stream pattern you want. This is a strategy that lots of top challenge players use to hit really fast bottom row complex streams that are essentially unreadable. For doubles maps, most of the trouble is just not getting overwhelmed by the sheer amount of notes passing by you. There are three real strategies here. Number 1, use the tips of your sabers to hit the notes while they're still decently far away, so you don't get overwhelmed. Number 2, swing slower. The beginner mistake when playing these maps is to swing really fast because you feel like there are a lot of notes. But the truth is that the notes aren't actually coming at you all that fast. If you force yourself to swing a bit slower, you'll probably find the rhythm and be able to keep time. And number 3, turn on note hit SFX in the player settings. If you could hear when the blocks are being slashed, it's easier to find a rhythm and keep time, rather than just trying to figure out the rhythm for yourself. The last challenge map section is on tech maps. Tech maps are maps which utilize weird and unconventional mapping patterns. They usually put a player's reading ability to the test by using lots of weird and awkward angles. Unfortunately, even after talking to a good portion of the challenge community, there weren't a whole lot of tips to go around for tech maps. Since tech maps rely heavily on reading ability, practice and slowing down the song really are the best strategies here. That being said, there is still one tip for triangles. If you don't know what a triangle is, it's basically just a pattern of 3 consecutive notes of the same color that makes your hand draw a triangle shape. When hitting a triangle, there are at least 2 different ways you can reset your hand to help with flow. The first is to reset your wrist after the first note like so. The second is to reset your wrist after the second note like so. Because tech maps rely so heavily on practice, I'll recommend some mappers who make difficult tech maps. The 2 most infamous tech mappers are BBBear and Kizuflux. BBBear's maps contain mind-bending angles and patterns that are extremely difficult to read. Meanwhile, Kizu maps are quick and involve crazy patterns which take a lot of practice to learn and master. I'll link their Beat Saber accounts in the description below. Speaking of practice, what better way to practice challenge maps than a brand new shiny challenge map custom campaign? I asked one of the creators of the challenge campaign, Dark Sandwich, to create a little advert that I could read to advertise the campaign. Here is what he wrote. The challenge campaign is built to take a high-level player who has never touched a challenge map and guide them from easier levels to the hardest challenge maps. The campaign consists of 4 main categories: streams and doubles, jumps, tech or brain melter, and vibro, with a subcategory of miscellaneous maps. Miscellaneous maps don't fit in one of the specific categories, but incorporate multiple categories throughout the song. The Discord includes a comprehensive bot to track scores and percent leaderboards outside of the game. When reaching a new section in the campaign, you will be automatically awarded a role displaying your progression. Be warned that this campaign is not meant for low-level players, and if you struggle with high PP maps, this campaign may be hard to make progress in. But if you're up for a challenge, don't hesitate to give it a try. So thank you to Dark Sandwich for letting me advertise the campaign in this video, and I'll make sure to link the challenge campaign Discord in the description below. Lastly, I want to showcase some amazing challenge map players like I did with the accuracy episode. Challenge maps are usually unrankable on ScoreSaber, so these types of skills can often be overlooked just the same as accuracy play. All of these players stream on Twitch occasionally, and all of them are amazing in their own ways. If you haven't seen them yet, make sure to check them out. I'll link all of their Twitch accounts in the description below. With that said, let's get right into it.
Fat bean so up. Omüder. Doorzy. Nah, it's easy.
Oh shit. First drop.
Oh, that felt good.
Origin 13. Chicken nugget.
God, I'm on a roll.
That's all for this episode. Today, we talked about vibro, jumps, streams and doubles, tech, the challenge campaign, and a bunch of terminology. Once again, my name is Snowy. If you enjoyed this type of content, consider liking and subscribing for more. Shout out to the guys in the C2 Discord for helping with tips and info. They were a huge help. So that was the last episode that I had planned to make when I started BSRA. With this series, I wanted to establish a baseline of advanced information that any new player could use if they ever needed help. I see that many of you still have suggestions for videos in the comments, like videos over tracking or terminology, patterns, grips, etc. But I feel like with these 5 episodes, we've really touched upon all the big topics in Beat Saber. So after this episode, BSRA will be taking a small break and switching formats. I will probably work on mini BSRA episodes for the video suggestions that you guys still have, because I think those topics are a little bit too small to merit a full-blown BSRA episode. Thanks to everyone for watching, and I hope some of the tips I've given so far have helped you improve your Beat Saber play. As always, if you have any questions or feedback on episodes, hit me up on Discord at SSnowy1549. Thanks for watching.